All right, how we doing, Cody?
Doing good, man.
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir.
So we're here at Matt Talk. This is episode 4. Happy to have you. We're just gonna go through, the genesis of how you got into fighting, where you're at now, stuff you do outside of the gym, and just kind of everything in between. Is that cool?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, beautiful. So tell us how you ended up on the mats here.
So how I ended up here, it was like I've always been interested in martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, but I never really had a chance to train. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I found myself at a different gym, and I trained there for a while, but I didn't feel like I was learning actually how to fight. It was more like a fitness gym, and then I found this place online, and it was like during COVID when wasn't a lot going on, so I was like, this is awesome, I gotta check it out. And then from my first class, I was like, yeah, this is a good place to be, and just kept coming and kept learning.
Yeah, and what's crazy is we used to train at that same gym together, right?
Yeah.
So when you came through the door, I'm like, dude, I know you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome, man. So what led you? Now, people don't know this, but you actually ended up taking a fight. Was this tell us how that transpired, how that went, what was that experience like?
So for me, like, I came from like kind of a rough background where like I was getting into a lot of trouble and found myself in prison, and I'd fight a lot in prison and in the streets, and this is before I trained. So I thought like I was just this really tough guy, and before I really started training, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to this boxing match. I was just working out, and I'm gonna beat this guy that's a trained boxer. And it didn't work out that way at all. I got in the ring and instantly like knew like I couldn't do anything. I was completely outclassed, and it really made me think. I was like, well, this guy actually is trained at this. He put an effort in this. I can't just show up and beat him. So I was more interested into actually being trained and learning.
What was that experience like? Like, did you? Like, what kind of venue was it? What kind of organization was it?
It was like a tough man competition, but they had actual boxers there for the main event. But one of the guys pulled out, and it happened to be like I weighed the same as that guy. And they asked me They asked me if I wanted to do it, so I was like, yeah. And
did you show up to the event knowing that you?
No, I showed up thinking I was competing in a tough man competition against other people that weren't really trained.
Okay,
like, either.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, and but I really wanted that experience when they brought it up to me. I think they kind of hyped it up, but I was down for it. And there was like, I was really surprised by the amount of people that was there. There was a couple hundred people there. And so like everything I thought I was gonna do whenever I stepped into the ring and the bell rung, it was like it all just went out of my head. My adrenaline just started rushing, and I'm like, all right, I gotta beat this guy up quick, or he's gonna beat me up. And that's kind of how it happened. Like I didn't beat him up quick, and he beat me up.
At what point did you know like this was a bad decision? Was it a particular shot, or was it just like?
It wasn't a shot. It was more fatigue. Like towards the end of the second round, I was just so exhausted and fatigued. It was so hard to defend myself, and like I knew like even if I threw like my best shot and I'm catching him with it, it's not gonna do anything because I had no energy left.
That's an early point, like where you realize like you're not dangerous anymore. Yeah. And in a fight, it's pretty scary.
I got hit a lot in that, and guy, I mean, I ain't gonna say he didn't hit hard. I think maybe because the adrenaline, it didn't really bother me as much. But also, like looking back now, like I didn't know how to defend myself properly. Like I didn't know how to block. I didn't know how to move out of the way of shots. I didn't know anything about distance, and he took complete advantage of that.
It's like, this is gonna be a fun time. I don't actually have to fight someone who knows anything.
Right.
Okay, so grew up in Cincinnati?
No, I grew up in Middletown, Ohio.
Middletown, okay.
I moved around quite a bit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Parents moving around, or?
So my mother and father, they were really young when I was born.
Gotcha.
So
how young?
In and out of homes and whatnot. I think my mom was like 12, and my dad was like 14.
Dude, so, that's young.
Yeah.
I thought my mom was young at 21.
Right.
Dang.
So I was I moved around a lot. It was different group homes and foster homes. Stayed with some family members different times. So like I did get to go around to like different schools. I stayed at Cincinnati at one point for a little bit.
Okay. Now, mom and dad still in your life at all?
Actually, I talked to my dad yesterday. He reached out for me, trying to get some help. And,
Okay.
My mom, I speak to her every now and then. We're on pretty good terms.
Okay, gotcha. Man, 12, like that's that's not every day.
Yeah, it's insane. I know for a while, for a long time actually, like I was resentful towards them, and then like now, like looking at it, if I look at it actually realistically, I can't be upset about anything. Like they were children, and
Straight up children.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're my mom and dad, and I'm supposed to honor them. So like, I love them, and if they need help, I'm here for them.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's kind of cool where you can get to a point like in adulthood where you like can step outside and not really necessarily see them as your mom or dad, and it, like just like a 12-year-old with a kid.
Insane. Like I have a daughter now that's 12, and like I'm just like, there's no way she could comprehend anything like that, you know?
Dude, that's a good point. Yeah, seeing it from like the total opposite end, like could my daughter have handled me?
No way.
Dang. Okay, and when did you have your daughter?
So I want to say 20 when she was born.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's like young by most people's standards, but yeah.
Yep.
Okay, nice. And you just got the one, right?
Yes.
Okay, nice. And how she was in New York for a while. Is she back around or?
She was in New York, and then she went to Texas for a little bit, stayed with her great grandparents. And now she's moved up here, and she's living with me now.
Okay.
Getting ready to start school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. She hasn't lived with me in the last like 10 years. Like we've stayed in contact here and there. And then the last couple years when I started getting my life together, she started coming up and spending time with me. And then now I actually have her here full time.
That's awesome, man.
It's a blessing, dude. It's really great. Like she's
gotta get her in here.
Yeah, I actually brought her. I brought her Thursday.
Oh, did you?
Like,
I didn't even know that.
It's Jen's class, and so she could see some of the girls training and whatnot. And like I feel like eventually she's gonna like be more apt to doing it, but right now she's still in her like shy mode. It's you know what I mean.
Mat full of adults.
Yeah.
Probably just feels.
I'm not gonna
a lot of
push her
place.
into it, but I feel like if I keep her around it, she's gonna
Oh yeah.
come around.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I always tell my wife that we're gonna give our kids options. Like we're gonna force them into this, but they can wrestle, do jiu-jitsu, or do kickboxing.
I feel like it would
three
be
options.
I feel like there's so much benefits for like kids to learn at least some type of martial arts, like for confidence and discipline, like and structure. Like those things are like key things that I want my daughter to have, and like she can get that in martial arts. So
Most definitely, especially like obviously I want my son to train, but my daughter for sure I want to train.
absolutely.
Like so that's cool. So you talked about like getting your life together. What did that look like? I'm sure like it was a journey. When did that start happening? And what process are you in at this point?
So I struggled with a lot of different things, mental health. So I have depression and anxiety, and then also substance abuse. I was addicted to different substances and alcoholism. So those things like led me down like a path where I was getting in trouble. I was going in and out of prison, would be homeless all the time, and I couldn't stop using. And I tried everything to quit using. Like I tried like, I'll use this to help me detox and get off of it, or I'll go here, I'll move, and nothing worked. And I found myself, I was like very sick in a jail cell, and
Physically sick?
Yeah, physically sick, like vomiting, shaking. I hadn't slept in like a week because coming off the drugs, and my roommate was like listening to something. My cellmate was listening to something, and it was like. It was a Bible verse that said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And I was like, a mustard seed's really small.
Yeah.
And I'd never like prayed or reached out to God for help. So like I was like, God, if you're there, help me, man. And then from that point forward, it was just crazy. Like God showed up in my life, showed me He was there. I got in somewhere to a treatment straight out of that jail cell. I went from there straight into a faith-based treatment center where like there was people praying over me all the time and guiding me. And from there, I went to I came.
What was that called?
That was called Genesis Modern Psychology and Wellness in Hamilton, Ohio.
Oh, that was.
It's a program directed by Dr. Morris, which that's too, because after I left there, I came to a sober living here in Cincinnati called Gateway Sober Living, and
I've heard of it.
yeah,
Is that where you work?
no, that's where I was living at.
Oh, that's where you're living. Oh, okay.
So I lived there for probably 3 or 4 years, and then during that period of time, I got a job for a Talbot House working for Engagement Center, helping other people detox and come off drugs. And Dr. Moss happened to be one of the medical directors.
Oh, really?
So it was like just God put me in these different positions to learn and then be able to help other people and to be okay with myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like, what was Dr. Mars's approach?
Faith and like the combining like faith with the AOD treatment, like in the so not just like strategies to not use drugs and whatnot, building like a support system and identifying triggers, and those things are like the basics that they teach you to come off of drugs and alcohol. He added in like the faith aspect to it, and like the, being able to pray and get help and guidance from God. So, and that was a big part of the what helped me get through. I didn't have any experience in that, so I'm like everything I tried.
Did you like know of God? Ever been to church or anything like that before?
I had been to
that jail cell situation.
I had been to church before when I was really young, and I didn't understand what was going on with it. And also, I had a guy I worked for in Kentucky who was actually a preacher, and he always tried to help me and like guide me to that way, but I just never really believed or understood. Like I just couldn't wrap.
Didn't have the ears to hear at that point.
Yeah, it was.
So,
wild.
do you feel like in the jail cell, like what made you receptive to it in that moment?
So my thoughts were, I was back in that same position again. I tried everything in my power to stop using and stop getting in trouble and stop living that type of lifestyle, and I failed every time.
On your own effort.
Yeah, in my own effort, I was not powerful enough to get through that. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to die like this, and this is what everyone's going to remember me as, and there has to be something that can help me. So I was like, faith of a mustard seed, small, I can do that. God, if you're there, step in and help me, man. And he stepped in and helped me.
Have you ever seen that guy since who was playing it?
No, I believe he went back to prison for a very long time. He's still not out.
Gotcha. Dude, that's wild that like he was trying to get himself right. You just happen to be kind of listening in. Like I'll take that
like
for myself.
Seed get planted.
Man, that's wild, man. And when's the last time you were incarcerated? Like, when did you get out of that situation?
So the last time when that happened, that was probably about 4.5, 5 years ago. And I'd like to say I hadn't been back to jail since then, but I had been in a lot of trouble leading up to that I ran from. So when I got out of jail and I started building my life together, like my mentors told me like all these things that you did while you was in active addiction, you still are accountable for that, and you have to take care of that. So I went to jail one more time. I mean, I was able to like go turn myself in, and I bonded out and took care of all my legal problems. And
at that point, you would have had to if you got your daughter, right? Like,
well, I just got my daughter now, but I went to jail a couple years ago over some old warrants. I just went and turned myself in.
Okay. Went
into court, and actually the judge dismissed all the stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, dude, that's awesome, man. So there's a lot of people who come in. I would say not similar to you at all, but have issues with addiction, have issues that they're battling. First, I want to talk about why do you think people like that want to train or find themselves? Is it just coincidence, or do you feel like there's something more to it?
So I feel like there's a lot of different things that could play into it, and for each person it could be different. But a lot of the people that I've met in gyms that train that have these issues, it's like you feel powerless and because of your situation, and this is a way to kind of build yourself up. And a lot of times it centers around you're fearful. You're fearful of everything. So being able to train and learn how to fight, you think, oh, well, I won't be afraid anymore. You know what I mean? So for me, that was something like I fought a lot, but I was always afraid to fight. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, part of it was that, like, and I wanted to be okay with that and get better at it. But then after I started training, I was like, it wasn't a fearful thing. Then it was like, all right, I know about this and I can get better at it. For sure. I like it as a sport, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of times it's like, I want people to see me a certain way, so I come to the gym and I'm gonna train.
Yeah, for sure. Just like anyone. Thank you, Marion. And so what has it helped you along in your journey at all, being able to train?
Yes, absolutely. Like just this last week, I was having a bad day and I was kind of stressed, and I have other tools that I can use as well, but one of my like support systems and tools is the gym. Like if I'm having a bad day and I'm stressed, I can come in here, get some exercise, be around like healthy people that are nice, laugh, and get through another hour and get through my day and feel better when I leave.
For sure.
So I definitely use this as a tool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you use that as a tool, and like stress can be like a trigger. Like I've heard this said, like, and I just want to get an honest perspective. Like once you're an alcoholic, once you're an addict, you're always an addict. You really like, what is your stance on that? And
so
what's your theory on that?
For me, and for a lot of people I know, once you're diagnosed yourself as an alcoholic or addict, for me, I'm going to be an addict my whole life. I'm not using now, so I'm not active alcoholism, active addiction, but my mind still is going to try to push me to the point where I'll use again. Yeah. So that's why I say, like, I'm always an addict. I'm always an alcoholic.
Just like as a safeguard.
Yeah, because like my mind still, like this is years later and I'll still have urges, and my mind will try to trick me into stepping that much closer to using again. And I got to be mindful of that. Use the things that I've learned to not go back to that. For me, it's not good.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break and then we'll get back to it. We're back here with Cody. So we were actually just talking over the break about like how training, there are parallels between like getting good at training and getting good at strategies in fighting, and also getting good at strategies in dealing with addiction.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about that.
For me, like I noticed like a really big similarity in for AA or for 12-step programs. You come in and you're not that great at it, and you're not that great at staying sober, and a lot of days you just don't want to show up, and you just got to keep showing up and learning, and that way you can get better at it, you know what I mean, and fight through those times when you don't feel like doing it. And it's the same thing for me with the gym. A lot of times, like I'd come in and I would feel like I wasn't doing as well as I should be, or before I would leave, I'd be like, man, I'm sore from yesterday, and I would just keep showing up and keep learning and keep progressing. As the more I stay consistent with something and keep showing up, the better I get, and I can see results in my life.
Dude, I mean, you're so right. Like everyone who's done jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or any martial art, like there are days where you feel like you're not getting any better. Yeah. You feel like other people are doing better than you. Yeah. And you don't necessarily feel like it was a good training session, but like continuing to stick to it. Like that's how we all know who've trained. Like those are the guys who get good. And it's not in a month or 2 months. It's like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
And another similarity is like the people that I see continuing to work on like bettering their lives and like staying consistent with that. You see the results in their life. Like, things just start changing for them. They're bearing fruit in their life. Exactly. And then the same thing with the gym. Like there's guys here that I started with that like I just see now and I'm like, wow, like, these guys
just
are
a little bit of consistency. Yeah, man. That is the coolest thing. Like I love when guys start training on the same track as another, like a friend or something. They fall off and their friend just keeps going. Yeah. And then they come back and train like a year later and they're like, wait, I could be that if I just stuck with it. You know, so yeah, I would imagine the same thing, staying clean, like, you know, putting one foot in front of the other, like seeing the community that you start building and seeing the progress you start building and seeing the financial security you start building.
Yeah, like, and life shows up. There's like a lot of days where things will happen and stress you out, and like a lot of times there's a misconception like, all right, I stopped living my life this way. Things are just going to be peachy all the time, and it's not. So there's going to be days that are rough and hard to get through, and as long as you can push through those days and just keep it moving, like overall, things are going to be better for you.
Yeah. And like maybe one failure doesn't mean you are a failure.
No,
you know what
not
I mean?
at all.
Like just because you mess up one time, or you know, or even like an injury, and you're just like, yeah, that's a setback.
Yeah.
You know, that's a real setback. But you know, you work through it and
just keep it moving and get through it. And there's like a lesson in almost everything that I've dealt with. Like I'll be stressed out about something, but later on I've learned something from the situation that I really needed to learn.
Most stuff. Yeah, man, dude. I think we covered a lot. Tell the people like what's the next steps in your life are. What you got going.
So next steps for me is I'm in college right now, and I'm still working at the treatment facility, and so hopefully I'll be getting my degree soon, and maybe moving on to counseling or something like that, and then spending as much being a father to my daughter, and just continuing to progress in life. As far as the gym goes, I want to keep coming in, getting better, and hopefully be able to compete soon, and that's pretty much it.
Let's go. Dude, congrats. Proud of you, man. Thank you for doing this. And, we're out. Peace.